Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined with Jon Sexton, who is a real estate agent in Nashville and also the host of the TV show Selling Nashville. And he's so much more than just that, and we'll get into that in the conversation. But, Jon, thanks for being on the show. As I was telling you before we started recording, this is actually my first interview all summer long because of our trip up through Canada and Alaska. So it's nice for me to get back in the saddle. And I was telling my wife last night, I was like, man, I hope I remember how to do an interview, but we'll dust the rust off here and get back into it. But before we get started, just introduce yourself in your own words. Who is Jon today?
Absolutely. For Dan, first of all, I'm honored to be that first guest in a while, so thank you very much. Um, and I'll tell you that I have been an entrepreneur in pretty much most of my adult life. I moved to Nashville in 1996. I grew up in a little town called Visalia, California, which is Central California. Um, and after I graduated college, which I went to Fresno State, which is the Harvard of Central California, by the way, I moved out here to pursue music. And in that time, I, I wrote songs for film and television. I was in a band that got a major record deal. It took 5 years to get it. We lost it in 3 months. So that pushed me kind of to figure something else out in life. But I will tell you that during that time as a musician and an aspiring musician, is that you learned how to deal with rejection. You learned how to deal and keep things in a very positive route to keep you moving forward because it's a tough industry to try and make it. So that really helped me as an entrepreneur. And then I got into owning health clubs for many, many years. And then I got into real estate in 2017. I have my team was named Williamson County's best real estate team, and Williamson County's it's Franklin Brentwood suburbs of Nashville. So very proud of that title. And I have 11 agents on my team, and it's been a fun journey getting here.
Yeah, I love it. So actually, we
Oh,
were
and
in.
yes, like I mentioned too, I'm also a TV host for a show called Selling Nashville, and my first episode came out in August. My second one is coming out in October. Super excited.
Yeah, I love it. We were actually in Visalia, California this past spring on our way to Canada. Actually, another one of my podcast guests lives in Visalia, and ironically, she's a musician as well. And we ended up
Wow.
getting together, having dinner with her and her husband, and from there went up into Sequoia National Park and Kings
There
Canyon,
you
and
go.
then made our way up through Yosemite and
Yep.
eventually the redwoods. So yeah, it's that's kind of funny. It's a small world when you
Wow,
start
that is
having
something else.
conversations with people.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, we'll talk about that afterwards because I'm really interested to hear how that
Heck yeah,
went.
yeah.
That's great.
So
That's great.
whenever I have an entrepreneur on the show, it it's like when I get them on the show, they've kind of gotten to a point of success, so to speak. But I love hearing about the journey, because everybody sees the success of today and they don't always understand what that journey looked like. So I love the fact how you've kind of shifted gears. You went to Nashville, pursuing a music career, shifted gears to get into the healthcare industry, which are again two totally different ends, and then boom, now here you are in the real estate business. So, you know, talk talk a little bit about, you know, those shifts. What was it like, I guess finally, saying to yourself, all right, the music thing isn't going to work out on a full-time basis. I mean, you still dabble in music today, right? And it's one of those
Mhm.
things that's always in your
Yeah,
your heart. It's never gonna leave
absolutely.
you. But just talk through that, you know, making those adjustments along the way from music to, you know, health clubs to real estate.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, when I moved to town, I knew because I had been pursuing music, and when I was in Visalia, I was in a band that was fantastic. It was probably the best band I've ever been in. I was 10 years younger than just about everybody. The bass player and I were the youngest ones in the band. Ironically, that bass player is now the bass player for the Zach Brown band. So it just tells you how talented that band was. And he was younger than me. So So I knew what the hustle it took uh, just from there because we were touring and opening up for really big acts back then. So which led me to Nashville. All my connections were here. But when I came here, I knew I didn't want to be a starving artist. I'm like, I'm not going that route. So I'd been a college athlete and I wanted to, and I had my personal training certification. So I wanted to start my own quote unquote personal training business, which basically meant me contracting out of different clubs. Well, moving to town in 96, fitness was a little bit kind of up and coming in Nashville. It wasn't where it was in California. And so that I sort of used that to my advantage. I leveraged that California vibe, and I developed a waiting list within about 8 months. And so from there, I was able to develop a team. So my whole goal was to be able to, while I'm on the road, be able to make money in my personal training business. I was able to accomplish that. Um, and so I lived a little more comfortable than most pursuing artists. However, but I'll tell you that it really became um, it was a grind because here I am. I'm getting as a trainer, you're getting up really early to train people. Then you're staying out late playing music. So there had to be a nap time in there. I had to sort of balance life out. It
Right.
was really it was really something. And I look back at it and I'm just amazed at, being younger and having all that energy, trying to do it all. Anyway, so when I realized that the ultimate goal is to get a record deal. And when we got there, it was very deflating. And I just had kind of enough to where but an opportunity, a door opened for me. A guy that owned health clubs came to me and said he owned three of them and said, "Hey, I want you to run my personal training department because I had done a very good job at what I did in my training world. I was training professional athletes, I was training celebrities, and just your grandma, just kind of everybody. And my team was really good, had really good, a lot of talent. So I had a chance to get into when I was recruited into that. I said, look, I've got all of this. I was able to negotiate to get some equity into the company. It wasn't much, but it was enough to get me started. So I made that transition. I was like, I was deflated over here. I had something else that was coming over here. I was also, at a stage in my life where at this point, I was in my early 30s, and it's like, okay, it's just time to grow up. It's time to move on. And so I did, and then about 5 years later, I bought them out of one of the locations, and because I realized that I really liked what I was doing. I wanted more, and I felt like I could do more. So one of my trainers on my team is just we've known each other since he moved to town. He was from Bosnia, and he was on the Bosnian national ski team, was in the Olympics, and I asked him to be one of my partners. And because I like a team effort. I don't like to do things alone. I like to have I work better that way. I think that's just kind of being an athlete growing up. You like the team environment, you appreciate it, and you know the importance of having people that can do things better than you on certain areas. So we grew that brand, and but we bought it in 2008. And which is probably the worst time. We started the process a little earlier, but everything started to crash in 2008.
Right.
It
Right.
was so hard to get a loan. I ended up getting an SBA loan, um, and the Nashville Business Journal did an article on me for having the largest SBA loan in the state for that year. And I don't know if that was a good thing. I
Right.
was feeling really good about it at the time, but looking back, I'm like, hmm. So anyway, then 2 years later, the big flood in Nashville happened. I don't know if you remember that,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it was my area, which is West Nashville, Bellevue, was hit the hardest by far, and it was really tough. Luckily, like my home was one of three homes in the neighborhood that was not touched, so I got really lucky. But we were all stuck, and we really came together, helped each other out. I mean, we're pulling furniture up, and we're trying to drive people's houses out. It was really, really, really a sad time. I actually had survivor remorse. It was really, really, really sad. However, as a business owner in that area, even though our business wasn't touched, but 90% of our clients were, I just said, hey, you take care of yourself. I can we'll put your payments on pause. Come back when you're ready. Well, it was the right thing morally to do. As a business owner, it probably wasn't the smartest, but I, from a financial standpoint, and honestly, like I almost lost my house. I was the only one for 6 months. I didn't take a paycheck to get through this, and I paid everybody else. But so I mean, I almost went into foreclosure. I mean, it was a really tough time. And at the same time, I was going through a divorce. So it was like everything was kind of happening at once. And then from there, it just was that we rebuilt it. People started coming back. Everyone was appreciative. We didn't really lose any members. We started gaining some, and I think that it was something that it was just the right thing to do. It just was the right thing to do. So and then from there, we were able to grow that club, and then had a couple hiccups along the way. And then there was a club where I first started, which was an old tennis club, and it was a thriving tennis club in '96. Coming back around and around that 2012 time, it was a dying tennis club. And it was just a few miles down the road, 85,000 square feet, 11 acres, and the owner didn't want it anymore. So I was able to get some investors to help me take over that. We moved all of our operations over to from one club to another. Well, we were in a small little shopping mall, strip mall. At our other club, it was about 14,000 square feet. It was a really nice little club into 85,000 square feet. And the whole idea here was that we are going to combine both operations. We were just going to take off from there. Well, guess what happened? When we left, a Gold's Gym popped into our old spot. And guess what happened from there? A lot of people stayed. And because new equipment, less expensive, why wouldn't I stay? This is where I've always been.
Right.
So I had to rebuild the club again. And then point moral of that story is that you can put everything on paper, you can have all these ideas, and then something can just derail you. And then you gotta kind of dig in and just keep fighting. And so we had to do that. We had to build that club because it was already dying. We removed tennis, which was a big deal because we end up turfing the indoor uh, um, courts, and so which was a really great move in the long run. But we lost probably 300 or 400 members from that
Yeah.
at the same time. So we took a beating for a long time. We took a beating, and you have to believe in what you're doing and just know you're doing the right thing and do it the right way. And grew it into we end up being the brand of my club is called Boost Fit Club, and we were Nashville's best health club 12 years in a row. And we've always done a good job with service, always done a good job with having talent, taking care of people. Um, but but then this all of a sudden this went from just being a health club, a gym, if you will, from being a gym to having a gym. Because now we're 85,000 square feet. We've got gymnastics, we have dance, we have a cafe, an indoor turf field, indoor heated saltwater pool, a private school for athletes, physical therapy. I mean, you name it, we everything's under one roof, right? And we're on 11 acres. Well, the back 6 acres but they were, when I was there first, they were clay courts, clay tennis courts. And then when we came back around, fences had fallen, there are lots of weeds. So we saw that there was value to that land. And when I talk to the investors, a health club just doesn't give you a good enough return. It's not that much of it's not very fruitful. It's just you have to be passionate about it.
Right.
The money's in the real estate. So that was the play. That was the play to the investors. So it took 5 years to get it rezoned. We got the back 6 acres rezoned. It was not easy to get it rezoned for 54 townhouses. And then so now we've got 54 townhouses. We got our club, 85,000 square feet. And then that's when I got into my real estate license because I'm like, okay, to the developer, I'm like, now he only gave me 6 listings out of those because I was brand new. And he gave it to a guy that's been around for a long time. They have one of the largest real estate companies in town. So I understood that, but I sold them out like that. I realized that I'm pretty good at this. So I kind of had two careers going, and eventually one took over and the other one pulled away. So um, I'm no longer with the health club anymore, but very passionate. It's a brand I found, and I'm still involved with them in regards to like consulting and, but it's really more of a solely focused on real estate now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Mhm.
So, John, what sports did you play in college?
Okay. I'm 5'10". Let me just start with that. And I played basketball. I played basketball and I played tennis.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Yep. Mhm.
So, one of the things you went back to, and I had coached baseball for 30 years. So,
Mm.
that connection between the life lessons that sports teach you, and how they carry over into the real world. You touched on that a little bit, but the coach in me wants to dig in a little bit more, on
Yep.
that. So, that teamwork and the leadership skills that are developed through sports. I mean, how did that help you um, in overcoming some of these, unforeseen obstacles as you were, going through this entrepreneurial journey?
I have to tell you, it has made the world a difference, and that's why I'm a big advocate of I've got three boys, of them being involved with team sports, and at least for some degree. For me personally, growing up, I was usually end up being a captain. I just kind of had that charge, and I was the hardest worker. I had to be. I wasn't the fastest. I definitely wasn't the tallest, and I couldn't jump the highest. But I worked hard, and I took all. I mean, I was working off season, on season, whenever I had to just to get better because I was against all odds. I mean, I was going to be the next Bobby Hurley. I don't know if you know if he was a great point guard at Duke. Didn't work out that way, but that's where I was going to be. And I just wasn't good enough. But I tried and tried to give everything I can. So that work ethic, I was able to take that into, my professional life. But as a team player, I always was a good team player. I cared about my teammates. I knew that they had skills that I didn't have. Um, and I became a very leadable leader too. Like I could be coached and I could turn around, and I ended up coaching. I tried basketball, high school basketball one year. I was like, oh no, no, thank you. But I really I appreciated being coached. I appreciated that, and I took it in and I listened to every word. And I was kind of a rule follower with that. And I would turn around and I'd be the coach on the field or whatever too. Because in high school I played more sports than that, but I was always not afraid to be the field general.
Yeah. And I think
Hmm.
that's so important. One of those things that sports teach you is being able to rely on your teammates and
Hmm.
understanding, you know, the things that you're not going to be able to excel on and being able to, rely on your teammates to do that. And I think when you're talking about, building your business team, I think it's the same philosophy. Like there's some things you're strong at, so you want to build members of your team that are going to, you know, enhance the things that you might not be strong at to
Yeah.
create a more well-rounded team. And I think sports, are such a great avenue to teach that. Like I said, at 5'10", you're probably not the guy going in and crashing the boards, to get the rebounds, but you're relying on, some of the big boys to come in there to do that. So it's kind of the same thing in
Hmm.
the business world. So,
Yep.
you know, just translating that and building out this team of yours, um, what were some of the assets you're looking for on your business team to enhance things that you may not be right in your wheelhouse?
Yeah. Well, first thing, always just a good person. Just going to do the right thing. Going to take care of people. Know that I can hand them a piece of paper or give them something. I don't have to worry about it. Know that they're going to take care of them. That they're going to have my back. They're going to have our clients' back. They know I'm going to have their back. So I think that's all very. That's number one. No, that's number one. Um, And then, just I look for, if they have what their drive is, what drives them, what motivates them. And, and in the real estate world where I am, the way that I approach things is that, we're all adults. What are your goals? You want to do this part-time? I'm okay with that, right? I like bringing on newbies. I like to be able to enhance them and mentor them, give them systems. Because I think here's the thing, sports systems are important. You know that as a coach. You got to have your systems and they got to follow that. And so having systems in place is very, very, very important. And having people you got to get them to buy in. And having people use your CRM or make calls through the CRM, it's not always easy for people to do that. They kind of want to do their own thing, especially when they're adults and they're kind of stuck in their own routine, and how I can help them understand that how they can get better by doing this, because again, you we're here to help you grow. And if we can't follow what you're doing, we can't help you grow. I need to be able to log in and see what's going on. So, and maybe even hear a conversation or two that you're having. So it's like watching film, right? It's the same thing. So you're watching film on them, and then you sit them down and you kind of go through, how do we make that better? It's the same idea, right? But there's a book that I have a coach. I use Eisenhower Coaching and Consulting, and they really specialize in real estate, but they specialize in leaders. Not They're not going to teach you how to have a really great open house. They're going to teach you how to run your company and how to grow it that way. And so I read a book called Rocket Fuel, and Rocket Fuel talks about two type of leaders. There's a visionary and there's an integrator. The visionary is, and you can be a little bit of both, but usually you tend to lean one or the other. The visionary is the person, just exactly what it says. You see the big picture. You know how you want to get there. You know the tools you want to use, and you know the people that you want to use, but you really aren't really good at implementing it. So then there's the integrator. The integrator complements that. So they see the visionary, the vision, but they can put the people in place and put the tasks in the right spots, and they can make that happen. So what I found out about myself is that I'm 100% a visionary. That's just who I am. I am. I need, my integrator, which I do have on my team, and he's fantastic. But it makes my life a lot easier, because I will tell you, I was very hard on myself as a leader, and especially in the health club world. I would come up with these really great programs, and and I knew that they were amazing. They would help people, but they just wouldn't take off. And I'm scratching my head, like, what's going on? Like, I'm really putting a lot of pressure on myself and really frustrated with myself. And if I would have known that that's what I needed, then that would have been a whole lot easier. So now that I know that about myself, I've got the vision, I write it down on the board. How do we implement this? And let's go get it done. Right. And then they do that, and I can continue to keep working, on, not in the business. And that's kind of uh that's been a really great book for me, and it really hit home, and it's allowed me to really um really again, we're back to knowing who's better, being having different roles on the team. I know my role, and the integrator knows his role, and so and our team understands that. So it's well documented that that's who you go to for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So, you talked about, you went to Nashville with aspirations to make it in the music business. You didn't want to be the starving artist. So you kind of developed a plan, to make sure that didn't happen. But as you were, you know, again, going through that journey and understanding that music probably wasn't going to be the, you know, what you had hoped it to be when you arrived in Nashville, how difficult was it for you to kind of let go of that dream, so to speak?
Hard. Very hard. Very, very hard. And I mean, I rented a rehearsal space. I just kept it. I'm the drummer in the band. I play guitar and piano, but drums are my thing. If I'm going to be in a band, I'm going to be the drummer. So I kept my drums there. I just kind of held on to it. I tried to play with the other bands around town. It just didn't, I just couldn't let go of it. It took a while, and then it stopped listening to music for a little bit, just because I was just sort of frustrated with it, and just it's like breaking up with someone. And the same thing happens to athletes. You're a big man on campus, and then you're not, right? What happens? It's a really high low. I will tell you that one of my very, very best friends, he's like a brother, uh, played football in a major level, played at Colorado State, transferred to Oklahoma State. We got picked up by the Giants and played for the Falcons. Um, and when his and he never got to the very peak, but he was a fullback, and there's only one fullback on each roster, right? And when he ended up just kind of had it cut for the last time, he moved in with me, and it just was a tough. It was really hard watching him go from being at a super high, living the dream. When you ask him what he studied in college, he'll tell you his playbook. You just like, but now, like after he got his whole world together, he took that drive and that focus. Now he's a multi-millionaire, bought a house in Del Mar, California, which is right outside San Diego, for like 8 million bucks in cash. I mean, the guy's, and I'm just so proud of him because it went from a extreme low to where he is now. And so I really do believe that having that athletic background, and when I would train NFL athletes, by the way, my club, we work with NFL Combine, do a lot of NFL Combine training. I would sit with the athletes and talk to them about kind of that situation, but I would say you guys are at such an advantage because you have done something at a very high level, and you've worked hard to get there. You know what it takes, you know the determination, all the hours, all the sweat, all of that. When you can transfer that exact energy over here, when that time comes, you will dominate. You will dominate just like you've dominated all the way through college. So don't lose that. Don't lose that drive. Fight for your dream as hard as you can, but know that there will come a pivotal time where you're going to need to take those talents and move it over here. So be excited about it. Don't get down about it. Be excited because you have what it takes to be dominant. And if and that's just and that's true. I mean, they're the cream of the crop. You don't have
Yeah.
you play at a Division I level, you're a heck of an athlete and you worked hard to get there.
Yeah.
I'd
No doubt
say
about that.
90% of them,
Yeah.
So a lot of there's some of are just gifted, you know. But um anyway, that's my message to them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. Actually, one of the things you said there, that you actually stopped listening to music. Music plays such a large part in my life. I'm not a musician. I played bass a little bit in high school, badly, I tell everyone.
Nice.
I'll still dabble with the harmonica here and there. But
Hmm.
music has always played such an integral role in my life, just in so many different ways. It really surprised me when I heard you say that you actually stopped listening to music.
Hmm.
So how long, and I guess it was almost like a healing process for you
It
to
was.
to get over that. How long did that take for you?
I don't know, maybe a year or so. Um, and I just couldn't. I don't know. I was just bitter about it, really heartbroken,
Yeah,
but not really bitter, but heartbroken.
yeah,
So, and same thing when basketball was over for me. Um, it was the same idea. I couldn't even watch it, and I loved playing. I loved basketball, but at that time too, I'd lost my mom. I took a red shirt, and I just couldn't go back. I just couldn't do it. I lost kind of a lot of losing. My mom was sick basically from the age of 8, and she died when I was 20, so a 12-year death of emphysema. And and then I lost my sister 2 years after that. So there was a lot of stuff that was happening in my life. But I was able to kind of hold on and play tennis. I felt like that was a little bit different, but basketball itself, I realized that. I mean, number one is the guy that I played behind in college ended up transferring to Arizona State and led the Pac-10 at the time in assistant steals. He was so much better than me. You just kind of realize, all right, okay, all right, I get it, I get it. I got as far as I can, but it's the same thing. I guess that's the way I kind of processed it. You know.
yeah, yeah. So what was the different approach between tennis and basketball, being, one from, you got four other guys out there on the court with you, to, you know, you're the only one out there. It's just you and your opponent, unless you're playing doubles, but kind of really just
Yeah.
focusing
Well,
on the singles
in,
game.
in that sort of environment, though, it's not like the pros where you're going out and you're just playing for yourself. You're playing for your team, right? You've got six singles matches, and then you have three doubles matches, and that's how you win. So it's still a team. You're traveling as a team. You're just going out and doing what you can for the team. So it didn't feel individualized, even though you're on the court against somebody else. But I will tell you too, I was a number one player on my team, ranked from 1 through 6. I lost more than I won, and I was probably a legitimate 5 or 6 player on any other team. So, we just weren't that good. So
Right.
I got beat up pretty good. Actually, my greatest victory was a loss. I played a guy that was ranked number 6 in Japan, and I split sets with him. And I was so excited about that. I got so excited I lost 6-0 in the third, but I was excited that I split sets with him. He figured
Yeah.
my game out at the third set. So, but yeah, tennis in the college. It's definitely a team, still a
Yeah.
team atmosphere.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So when you first ventured off then into the real estate field,
Mhm.
again, something that, when you moved, when you graduated college, when you moved to Nashville, I'm guessing wasn't ever on your radar at that point.
Mhm.
The
Right.
health club stuff was still kind of in your wheelhouse because of the sports
Mhm.
background. Um, but, how did that develop? Something that really was not remotely on your radar, what has clearly turned into a passion for you.
Yeah. So I should have also prefaced that I've invested in real estate for some time before that. So I understood the value of owning real estate and how it definitely helps grow your net worth. So, but getting on the sales side of it, um, I just saw an opportunity with having the townhouses behind us in the backyard, I call it. And, I didn't want to confuse my staff because, if I just start off, they're going to wonder, why am I just going off and selling homes now? Why am I a real estate agent? So this really made sense for me. Like I got my license a little bit earlier. I sold my house. I bought my other house and, kind of did a few things, but not much prepping for this, knowing that this is where it's going to go. And the fact that I was able to do that and it made sense to everybody why I listed those behind us. So from there, after I did that, it's like I started just being, I think, a leader in the community, trusted business owner for a long time. I've done some fundraising events and things of that nature. I was able to really, I kind of had a lot of people's trust. So when that really, it really kind of took off quickly. So I started to kind of climb the ranks in real estate in this area uh, quicker than probably most, honestly, and which had allowed me to um, kind of really start. Now, I tried to start my team probably a little bit early. I brought somebody on. I thought I was ready to start the team because I love the team atmosphere. I didn't want to be a solo agent, and it just didn't work out. So I kind of pushed back, pushed pause, kept being a solo agent, got myself ready, and started realizing I need systems in place. I need a coach. I need this, and this. So I did. So then I started bringing on, and I started kind of growing quickly, helping them mentor, and so um, so now with real estate, it's just kind of been it's it's fun. I've just been connected in this town. Being here since '96 and being in the health club world, and I mean training large, very, very, very wealthy people, very, very famous people, incredible athletes. I just have a lot of really great connections through all of that, and I've always kept it. And I have a very large database that I'm always really good about keeping my database. So that way, when I go from one to another, because I know how I am as an entrepreneur, I can always let them know what I'm doing, and figure out if there's a way I can service them in whatever I do. I typically lean into service industries, so um, and real estate being one of them.
Yeah. So now you're embarking on yet another new journey as television host. How did that come about, and how far was that off your radar before it popped on?
Way off, way off. I had no. Here's the thing: is I tried to get that fame and stardom and all of that, in my younger years, and I gave up on that, And it wasn't just about the fame and stardom; it was just about being passionate about playing music and writing it and all that too. But it comes with it, and you sort of you fantasize about that. And so this was not even on my radar. And when they reached out to me, um, the opportunity kind of presented itself. And, I've got a good following on my Instagram, which, if it's okay to plug that, it's at,
Absolutely.
JON.SEXTON, so John.Sexton on Instagram. I've got a good following following there, uh, seeing my success, and I think that and maybe even seeing some of the posts and personality, I think it sort of made sense for them to reach out. So uh, here I am, and it just the first episode, according to the network, which is the American Dream is what it's called. It had 34 million views, 31 million impressions, and 9 million viewers. So um, and then I've got clothing endorsements from it. I've gotten uh, uh, skincare, and it's just been surprising that that what's kind of transpiring here. And I have other TV opportunities for other TV shows that are on the rise. So we'll just see. What I'm glad about this, by the way, selling Nashville is nothing like selling Sunset, just so everybody knows that. It's not drama. It's all about lifestyle, real estate, and culture. So that's the thing. And I told you about the Zach Brown band. The guy's name is Matt Mangano. He's the bass player. He's fantastic. He's like my little brother. My next episode we're going to go film is going to be at the called Southern Ground Studio. That's Zach Brown Studio, and it's like a three-story studio. It's beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to go interview him. He's going to show us around the studio. We're going to talk about the history of the studio, and it's going to be kind of one of those. So it's not going to be about an actual home. It's going to be about the culture of Nashville and what Southern Ground Studio is. So it's going to be. I'm excited to film that one. We're going to film that next month.
Yeah. That's kind of going full circle for you, isn't it?
It is. It is. It really is. Hmm.
So what was
Yeah.
it like, um, you know, leading up to your first episode of, like what sort of butterflies were going through, or, what were some of the thoughts in your mind? Did you pinch yourself a
Yeah.
couple
So,
times?
well, hey, when that camera turns on, something kind of happens to where it's like, oh gosh, I'm being heard. Like, because again, in music, I was the drummer. I was the guy in the background. I wasn't up front. I'm not, and I will tell you, like, if I get up on a stage and I have a mic right here and I hear myself, I kind of have to settle down because it just sort of freaks me out. And that's not what I'm used to. So now being in front of the camera, it's gotten a little bit easier because interviews like this um but and the fact but what keeps me calm and keeps me confident about it is that I have autonomy to be able to kind of do what I want. I get to choose what neighborhood I'm going through, the topic, the guests, all of that. So I submit the idea. If they like it, then they we set up a date, and then they send out the crew, and here we go. So, and I also realized they have really great editors. So, I mean, that's important. So I have to remember this isn't live. They can edit it, and so I'll just keep going. I'll just keep going, and I'll repeat myself and slow it down because I can tend to talk fast when I get excited. So I just sort of we have to remember, slow it down, and just the little things. So between episode one and episode two is coming out, but I've already seen it. It's a big difference. I'm much happier with how I presented myself uh, the second time. So the third time will be even better. I'll just get better and better at it, hopefully.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's like anything else in life. The more
Hmm.
you do it, the better you get,
Yeah,
So I,
exactly.
I
Yeah,
love that. I love that. John, we could go on and on, but we got to wrap some things up here. But before we
you got
do,
it.
is there anything that we missed that you'd like to, bring up to the listeners that you think would bring them some
Yeah,
value?
thanks. Yeah, if you don't mind, I do have also a podcast called Calling Nashville Home. Now, my team's name, as you can see behind me, is Nashville Home. So it's really geared towards what it's like to relocate here and what it's like living here. So our guests are typically people that either clients of ours or even our own agents, and we talk about the journey of the decision to move to Nashville, the journey of getting to Nashville, what it's like living here, and what their favorite things are. So it kind of gets everybody has their own story. So, and it's only about 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. So calling Nashville home, and you can hear that kind of everywhere, on Apple, Spotify, as well. And then I've got my YouTube channel. It's on that too, which is at Jon Sexton Realtor. Um, and then, but yeah, I think that's something I appreciate you letting me talk about that.
Yeah, no problem. And I know you mentioned a couple things as far as Instagram or YouTube channel, but if people do want to reach out to you, where can they
Yep.
find your website, all the social stuff, and I'll put that all in the show notes too, but just, give you an
Thank you.
opportunity to let people know,
Yeah,
where they
yeah,
can find you.
sure. Yeah, so Nashville Home Agents, agents.com is our team's uh, website. And then so you can always email, and I'm Jon at NashvilleHomeAgents.com if you want to email me. And you can always reach out to my DMs as well. On my Facebook recently got hacked, so I'm hoping to get that back. But right now, so Instagram's really kind of the main place to go. I also am on LinkedIn as well.
Excellent. And just John was a little humble when he was talking about his Instagram, where he said he has a couple followers. He's got about 100,000 plus followers. So yeah, there's a couple there for sure. So, he was being very humble when he talked about that. Um,
Thanks.
but so yes, that brings us to our final question. As you know, the subtitle of the podcast is "Many Little People in Many Little Places," which comes from the opening lyrics of the Michael Franti song "Gloria," which go, "When many little people in many little places do many little things, and the whole world changes." So, what's one of the little things that John does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
I always try to make somebody's day, just with simply words of affirmation. And I tell my boys to do the same thing when they're on their way to school. Um, whatever, I'll tell them, just make someone's day. Just tell them that, that oh, girl, her hair looks nice, or tell a teacher that you really appreciate them, or whatever it might be. I think it's important to make someone feel good. You just never know what they're going through, and it's always nice to let someone know how you feel.
I love that. And that's a great answer. And it's actually I've had a lot of answers similar to that, which actually makes me feel very good that there's so many people I'm talking to who understand that it is truly those little things, just holding the door for somebody, saying, "I like your shirt, your hair looks good today," whatever the case is. Because like you said, you have no idea what that person's going through, and that
Yeah,
little bit of encouragement can go a long way and really brighten up their day. So I love
yeah.
that you're doing that. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
And hopefully more people out there start doing that. Again, holding doors and smiling is a really important part of your day.
It
So,
is.
so thank you so much for being on the show. For those out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com. While you're there, check out my Pay It Forward program where you can purchase one of my books and Sandy and I will donate it to someone along our travels, whether it's a library, free little library, or just somebody who's looking to get a copy of a book. Check that out for sure. And again, John, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a great
Thank you.
conversation, and we're traveling through Nashville. We'll definitely reach out to
Please
you for
do.
sure.